62 years old when he became the king of Persia. One day, as he was sitting on his beautiful throne, he began scratching his head and thinking over things in his kingdom. With large steps, Daniel entered the king's throne room and stood before the king. King Darius walked over to Daniel. The king placed his hands on Daniel's shoulders and said, "Daniel, I want to make you ruler over the princes and the administrators."
Daniel, I want to make you rule over the princes and administrators.
Daniel smiled and exclaimed, "I am very honored."
I am very honored.
Daniel excitedly ran back to his home. He immediately kneeled to pray with his hands folded under his chin. Daniel always prayed at least 3 times a day while kneeling toward Jerusalem, that was once the capital of Judah. Daniel looked up and prayed, "Thank you, God, for my new job."
Thank you, God, for my new job.
Daniel was already one of the 3 administrators of Persia, but now he would be ruler over the administrators and 120 princes. The other 2 administrators stood outside Daniel's house. The young administrator pointed to Daniel and said, "The king likes Daniel much more than he likes us."
The king likes Daniel more than he likes us.
Daniel was a very honest man and always did his best at his job. The 2 administrators were very jealous of Daniel and wanted to get rid of him. These jealous administrators scratched their heads and paced back and forth. They were trying to think of something bad about Daniel that they could tell the king. Everyone said, "Daniel is a good man who loves God.
Daniel is a good man who loves God.
You will not find anything bad about him."
You will not find anything bad about him.
And everyone danced for joy. After dancing, both administrators huddled to the side and began to whisper. The old administrator told the young administrator, "You just wait.
You just wait.
We will find a way to destroy Daniel."
We will find a way to destroy Daniel.
The two administrators sat down with their elbows on their knees and their chin resting in their palms. They thought and thought, but they could not think of anything Daniel had done wrong. Suddenly, the old administrator jumped to his feet and raised his index finger in the air. He shouted, "I know what to do."
I know what to do.
They both hurried to the throne room. The two administrators bowed down to King Darius. The king stood, raised his arms, and commanded, "Stand and tell me why you are here."
Stand and tell me why you are here.
As they stood, the old administrator stepped forward and said, "We think you should make a law
We think you should make a law
that all people should worship you only.
that all people should worship you only.
If anyone disobeys this law in the next 30 days,
And if anyone disobeys this law in the next 30 days,
they should be thrown into the lion's den."
they should be thrown into the lion's den.
King Darius thoughtfully sat down on his throne. He smiled and shook his head. "Yes, yes." King Darius exclaimed, "This law will bring me much glory.
This law will bring me much glory.
Servants, give me my tablet and writing utensil."
Servants, give me my tablet and writing utensils.
Servants handed King Darius his tablet and writing utensil. King Darius began to write the new law. He signed his name carefully on the bottom of the law. Next, the king pressed his ring into the tablet to imprint his seal and handed the tablet to the young administrator. The administrator ran out of the room laughing. They ran as fast as they could to the street where Daniel was. Daniel was kneeling in prayer. They held up the law so Daniel could see it. Daniel said, "I already know the law.
I already know the law.
Why are you doing that?"
Why are you doing that?
The administrators said, "You can only pray to the king, not your God."
You can only pray to the king, not your God.
Daniel bowed his head and continued praying. Daniel knew he should worship God and not the king. The administrators ran back to the king. The young administrator exclaimed, "Daniel continues to pray to his God."
Daniel continues to pray to his God.
The old administrator explained, "And he's praying 3 times a day."
And he's praying 3 times a day.
King Darius lowered his head and shook it back and forward, back and forth. His servants asked him, "Master, are you okay?"
Master, are you okay?
King Darius continued to shake his head back and forth, back and forth. He was very sad Daniel would have to be thrown into the lion's den. King Darius tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He scratched his head and thought and thought. King Darius loved Daniel, but the king decided he had to keep his law. King Darius clapped his hands twice. The guards marched in front of the king. King Darius ordered, "Bring Daniel to me."
Bring Daniel to me.
The guards obediently marched to Daniel with high, heavy steps. The administrators followed to see what would happen. The guards grabbed Daniel's arms and said, "We must take you to the king."
We must take you to the king.
When they arrived before the king, King Darius said, "Daniel, you have broken the law.
Daniel, you have broken the law.
You must be thrown into the lion's den.
You must be thrown into the lion's den.
But if your God is real, surely he will save you."
But if your God is real, surely he will save you.
And everyone said, "If the God you serve is real, surely he will save you."
If the God you serve is real, surely he will save you.
King Darius looked very sad and clapped his hands twice. The guards marched Daniel to the lion's den with the wicked administrators following behind. The guards slowly pushed Daniel down into the dark, cold den with the hungry lions. Daniel fell to the floor. The lions eagerly began to circle Daniel. They began licking their lips and rubbing their paws back and forth. The lions roared loudly and began reaching out to Daniel, but did not touch him. The guards stood there and watched. The administrators sat down to wait for the lions to eat Daniel. The old administrator said, "I hope the lions eat Daniel quickly."
I hope the lions eat Daniel quickly.
The young administrator exclaimed, "I hope they rip his head off."
I hope they rip off his head.
Then the administrators held their bellies and laughed loudly. Suddenly, with arms stretched out, an angel of God appeared in the lion's den. Daniel covered his eyes because the light from the angel was so very bright. The angel gently touched each of the lion's heads and commanded them one by one, "Lion, keep your mouth closed."
Lion, keep your mouth closed.
Although they tried, none of the lions could open their mouth. The lions became very tired. They stretched their long legs and lazily laid down. Soon, all the lions were fast asleep. Meanwhile, King Darius' servants offered him food and music. The king put his head down and shook it back and forth. He did not feel like eating dinner or listening to musical instruments. Instead, the king kept his head down in thought. Then suddenly, the king quickly jumped up. He ran to the lion's den. The king called out into the opening and asked, "Daniel, did your God keep you safe?"
Daniel, did your God keep you safe?
Then everyone asked, "Daniel, did your God keep you safe?"
Daniel, did your God keep you safe?
Daniel stood and exclaimed, "O King, may you live forever."
O King, may you live forever.
God sent an angel to shut the mouths of the lions.
God sent an angel to shut the mouths of the lions.
The guards took Daniel's strong hands and lifted him out of the lion's den. King Darius hugged Daniel, and everyone danced for joy. The king now knew that Daniel's God was the true God. Daniel turned all the way around so the king could see no harm had been done to him. Then King Darius frowned and stared at the administrators. The king pointed to them and ordered, "Guards, throw them in the lion's den."
Guards, throw them to the lion's den.
The administrators tried to run away, but the guards caught them and led them to the lion's den. As the guards slowly pushed the frightened administrators in the lion's den, the hungry lions began to roar and form a circle around the administrators. Next, the lions slowly clawed the administrators. The administrators fell to the ground, and the lions ate
We're gonna eat by
the
the
administrators. King Darius placed his arm around Daniel's shoulder and walked with him to the throne room. King Darius happily sat down on his throne and called for his servants. Servants, bring me my tablet and writing utensil.
Servants, bring me my tablet and writing utensils.
The servants quickly gave King Darius his instruments, and he began to write another law. He signed his name and sealed the law with his ring. He handed the tablet to Daniel. Daniel read the law and smiled. The king had commanded all the people of the kingdom to worship the true God of Daniel. Daniel exclaimed, "Thank you, King, for this new law."
Thank you, King, for this new law.
And everyone exclaimed, "We praise and honor the one and true God."
We praise and honor the one true God.
Introducing the cast of Daniel and the Lion's Den. Playing the part of the angel, Maya Bailey Jones. Playing the part of the lions, Nicholas Greer, Joshua Davis, Melanie Davis, Tamara Eggleston, and Noel Newman Coulter. Playing the part of the servants, Maya Terry and Michaela West Grimes. Playing the part of the guards, Myron Greer and Tyshawn Bailey Jones. Playing the part of the administrators, John Terry and Nicholas Newman Coulter. Playing the part of King Darius, Leviticus Greer. Playing the part of Daniel, Nicholas Greer.